Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Rogan just absolutely destroyed California Governor Gavin Newsom. You see, just the other day, Gavin Newsom announced his brand new podcast. I guess he realized that being a politician isn't working out so well for him, so now he's going to try to become a social media influencer. But you see, here's the problem for Newsom. As if people didn't hate him enough already, Gavin Newsom's podcast announcement has pretty much made him the laughingstock of the entire country. But before I show you guys Gavin Newsom's new incredibly cringe podcast trailer, take a look at what Joe Rogan had to say about Newsom just about 3 weeks ago.
Look at this little wiggle. It's excited about the possibilities of speculators coming in. These people lost their homes. A lot of those people don't even have fire insurance because the fire insurance pulled out of California. I think like 69% of fire insurance pulled out of California because they're like, this is too crazy. You guys aren't doing jack shit to manage this. You're not clearing the brush. The amount of money they could have saved by just clearing brush, by filling the reservoir, that 11 million gallon reservoir was completely empty during the time of full fire season. Like, why didn't you fix that?
Yeah.
Like, it's all insanely mismanaged. And then this guy is on television talking about that, doing a dance in front of the burned down home that people used to sleep in, where their children would sleep in. Like, this is so disgusting.
You know,
that's why I don't want to be governor. Their houses have been burned, all their childhood memorabilia, all the stuff for their kids, the photos, the fucking everything they have. Everything they have is gone. All heirlooms, you know, their mother's wedding ring, that kind of shit. Everything's burnt to the ground. And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
So folks, literally everything that Joe Rogan said about Gavin Newsom there was 100% true. It's very clear that Gavin Newsom isn't exactly interested in improving the lives of Californians. No, he seems more interested in abusing his position of power to make money for himself and all of his corrupt progressive friends. Because as you all know, every single year that California has been under his leadership, things have pretty much been going down the toilet. And so now, instead of fixing the homelessness crisis, the out-of-control crime, the mass exodus of businesses leaving the country, or the state's crumbling economy, Newsom has decided that now, he'd rather spend his time working to become a social media influencer. And even worse yet, his new podcast is pretty much the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But before I show you guys the little promotional trailer for it, I want to say real quick, if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, everybody buckle up, let's all take a look at Gavin Newsom's new podcast.
We need to change the conversation. And that's why I'm launching a new podcast. And this is going to be anything but the ordinary politician podcast. I'm going to be talking to people directly that I disagree with, as well as people I look up to. But more important than anything else, I'll be talking directly with you, the listener. Real conversations. What's going on with the cost of eggs? What are the impacts, real impacts to you around tariffs? What power does an executive order really have? And what's really going on inside of Doge? Look, there's an onslaught of information that we take in. So let's take it to the sources without the typical political mumbo jumbo. In the first few weeks, we're going to be sitting down with some of the biggest leaders and architects in the MAGA movement. This is Gavin Newsom.
This is Gavin Newsom, and that, like I said, is probably the cringiest thing I have ever seen. So folks, let's go ahead and ask the obvious question. Why is the governor of California starting his own podcast? Is it because he's trying to fix California? No. Is it because he's trying to help Californians? Nope. Is it because he wants to be the president in 2028? Absolutely. You already know that this podcast isn't about policy or solutions. It's about Newsom building his national brand ahead of the next presidential election. He saw the impact that social media had on the recent 2024 election, and guess what? He wants a piece of the pie. He genuinely thinks that the best way to build support nationwide is to become a podcaster, and that's why he's doing it. However, the problem with Gavin Newsom's plan is that all of the top podcasters are actually likable people, whereas he's just completely fake and insufferable. But you know what? Speaking of likable podcasters, this is where Joe Rogan's response comes in. You see, upon seeing Newsom's podcast announcement, Joe Rogan posted, "If the ick was a podcast." And folks, that is probably the understatement of the century, if you ask me. But now, check this out. One of the ongoing narratives amongst the left is that they need a stronger social media influence right now to attract younger voters, something to compete with all of the conservative podcasters and YouTubers. And so this is where things get funny, because Joe Rogan also retweeted a post saying this: "The left needs their own Joe Rogan. We need to show that we understand the issues that most Americans face on a daily basis. We're regular, hardworking folks just like you." Then Joe Rogan made fun of the fact that the best the left can come up with is Gavin Newsom. So here's the reality, folks. I think we all know that this is true. The Democrats just come off as being completely fake and totally insincere. And as we're all seeing with all of this, even when they're trying to work on their public image, they still pick the fakest person on the planet to represent them, Gavin Newsom. And let's be honest, Americans can tell people are sick of the insincerity from the left. In fact, none other than famous boxer Floyd Mayweather came out just the other day and said pretty much exactly that.
At least I'm happy, but we're never happy. When we had Trump before, we didn't appreciate him, but I think Trump is a great president. Actually, he's the best president in my eyes. He's the best president we ever had. Great businessman, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, and the way the days cabinet thing, you probably went around here, it was really phenomenal. To the point you talked about, putting together a great team,
yes,
put together a fantastic cabinet.
Trump has done an amazing job, and a lot of people around America are upset. But no matter who goes in the White House, we're always upset.
Right.
And I think Trump is the man for the job. He's the best president in my eyes.
You hear that? Trump is the best president. And hey, do you guys agree? I sure do. Once again, while Gavin Newsom is out here ignoring California's ongoing homelessness crisis, out-of-control crime, mass exodus of businesses fleeing the state, and the state's crumbling economy in order to become a social media influencer, common-sense conservatives are out here providing results. In other words, making America great again. So folks, here's the real takeaway. With the Democrats, it's always too little, too late, and as clearly displayed by Gavin Newsom's podcast, their priorities are always completely out of whack. Not only do they not know how to run a country, but also, guess what? They have no idea how to appeal to voters. And until they can fix those two problems, let's just say that they won't be winning any elections. Because I can promise you this, there's not a single person in this country that looks at the way that California has been run and operated for the last 10 years and says, "Man, I wish my state was run like that." Not a single person. But folks, I think that's going to be a wrap for this video, so please go down below in the comments, let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video if you liked it. Like I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.